And welcome in to Pressbox Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles from Pressbox and PressBoxOnline.com. With me is Ross Grimsley, and our old friend Ken Singleton joins us in just a moment. You can see him there, but I do need to tell you that Pressbox Live tonight is brought to you by our friends at C3 American Exteriors. Go to their website at c3america.com to get a brand new roof for just the cost of your insurance deductible. In the days and weeks ahead that they sponsor this Zoom discussion, we will be telling you more about the good people at C3 American Exteriors. As we mentioned, Ken Singleton is with us. Ken, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, guys. Enjoying Florida. I'll be back in Maryland pretty soon, though. I've got about one more month down here, but when you guys warm things up, I'll be headed north.
You'll be there, right?
All right. Hey, Kenny, how are things going with the New York Yankees? How is their health getting ready for the season? And how many games do they have you scheduled to do this year, Ken?
Let's see. Well, first of all, with the health question, they're pretty healthy this spring. The only serious injury they've had has been Zach Britton, and he has had surgery to remove a bone chip from his elbow. Now, when he first came down with the soreness, you always think the worst, that, he's going to need Tommy John. But he should be back in a couple of months. And, of course, he's a big part of their bullpen. He's the eighth inning guy in front of Chapman and one of the best relievers in the league. The Yankees still have a pretty strong bullpen. They can maneuver guys around to get those final outs in the ball game. As far as games I'm going to do this year, I've got one spring training game that's coming up on the 29th of March. And then my first series during the regular season will be when the Yankees come to Baltimore. That's the middle of May. I am not doing that many games this year. This is probably going to be my last year. Okay. I've said it before, but my boss keeps bringing me back, but I don't think he's going to be able to do that this year.
All right. Hey, how's the health of Aaron Boone?
Aaron's doing well. It's amazing what modern medical technology can do, because I had seen him early in the spring. He didn't look well at all. He looked tired. He just didn't have that zip that he usually has, and he was kind of dragging. And he went and got checked out by the doctors down here in Florida. They gave a pacemaker, and 3 days later, he's managing the team again, and he looked like a new guy. I mean, he's
unbelievable.
He's really enthusiastic, and he said that it's amazing how much better he feels.
All right, Ross, you take over and ask Ken, your good friend Ken Singleton, a couple of questions.
See, I know you're going to broadcast, not that much, but are you going to be able to do that at the stadium, or like it was last year at the house?
Yeah, that's interesting, because like I said, my first series is in Baltimore, and I told my bosses that yes, I said I'd like to go to the stadium and do those games. You can see much better because you can see the whole stadium. Right. I mean, you're not relying on what the camera is showing you. By that time, I'll have my second vaccination. I'll be good to go. I'll feel comfortable going there. I'll probably be the only one in the booth, maybe one other person. So I think that it would be better that way. I'll be working with Michael Kay that night, and he'll probably be in New York. So, and I would hope that at least with fans coming back to the games, I mean, it should be okay for the broadcasters to go to the stadium.
Really?
I would hope that at least maybe halfway through the year, we'll be able to travel and do the games normally. Right. I would like to. I don't know. Guys, I can't speak for everybody else, but I know I would. And I just, if this is going to be my last year, I want to go out with the fans in the stands. That's the way I would do it.
I would think the only difference, Ken, is that even with the broadcasters, they probably won't want you commingling with the people in uniform. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think, this is going to be interesting after all this is over and calm down, Stan. Are they going to go back to the way it used to be? Right. Because everything is like we're doing right now. It's a Zoom chat. Yeah. And that's the way they interview players. I bet you the players kind of like the fact that there's nobody in the clubhouse with them, so that, nobody bothered them before the game at their lockers. And asking him questions for a certain period of time. That's the way it has been for years.
Yep.
Maybe with the way things are set up now, that's the way they're going to keep it. I'm not sure because, you know, in a way, it doesn't bother me because I'll be going anyway. So I'm not
Right.
really worried about it. But I would miss the fact that I'd like to go on the field before the game around the batting cage, talk to the manager, talk to the coaches, talk to the players, and you get a little bit more, something you could add to the game that night.
Right.
Things get slow or you get in the 12th inning and you need something to talk about, then you can go there.
Yeah, rain delay or whatever. Yeah, that's pretty. You talked about it before. The media is really sports writers. They can't get next to guys, and that makes it kind of tough. And I think they are possibly worried about what the future will bring. But anyway, get back to the Yankees. I know they had a big problem injury wise. They got Cole coming back. I think Severino's going to be ready in July.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken. Corey Kluber, they got him. They got the kid from Pittsburgh. Their starting rotation is
James Talion.
Yeah, Talion. Yeah, who's got a. When I saw him, he had a great arm. A little bit wild, but here, starting rotation. I mean, you look at the starting rotations, and the Yankees obviously a favorite to win the division and possibly the American League altogether. But their rotation, starting wise, is and there's some question marks. You just don't know exactly what you're going to get, but. Tampa Bay's the same way. They get rid of Morton and Snell, and they got a bunch of guys. Toronto, they're going to score a ton of runs, but they don't have the pitching. But my question basically is, with all the injuries the Yankees had with Judge, Stanton, they got a new conditioning guy. So what are they, do you know, or what are they doing different to try and prevent these injuries?
I think, first of all, Stanton and Judge have been pretty good this spring. Particularly Stanton. I mean, he's really swinging about well. They altered their workouts. They didn't do as much lifting, which to me, Ross, is a good thing.
Right.
Because I thought a lot of these guys are wound too tight. Yep. And then all of a sudden,
totally agree.
Something's going to burst. You know, as strong as they were, something's going to break down and they're going to be out for a month or two.
Right.
This year, they relied more on cardio and stuff like that. And I just think that both of them don't, you know, they're strong guys to begin with. I mean,
right.
But they don't look overly muscled like they had in the past. They look good. I think you mentioned the Yankees pitching staff. This year, you know, you start out with 5, you're not going to finish with those 5. You know, and that goes every team. So the Yankees, Domingo Germán is back. You know, he was out for domestic abuse. He missed all of last year, but he hasn't given up a run this spring. He's probably pitched better than anybody else.
And Jordan Montgomery has done a great job.
Montgomery's pitch. He pitched well against the Orioles the other day. Davy Garcia, the youngster, has pitched well, but he might be the odd man out because he has options. He's like number 6. But even so, you know, with the way the pitchers are coming back from last year, you're going to have to watch their innings loads. And I think, with the exception of Garrett Cole, who Boone said he hopes he throws 200 innings this year.
Right.
I think you can watch the rest of them a little bit more closely. I think that it wouldn't be surprise me to see Davy Garcia get quite a few starts, and he's kind of earned it. On any other team, he's in the rotation.
Kenny, the other day I was listening to the Tampa Bay broadcast on XM radio with Andy Freed of Baltimore Kid and Dave Wills. And Dave Wills started talking about, I was talking to Kevin Cash, and he fully expects this year to use 30 to 35 pitchers. I asked Brandon Hyde that question today, and I didn't get no, that's crazy. We're going to use a lot of pitchers this year.
Yeah, I can see that happening. I think with the Rays, you know, they signed Rich Hill to be in their rotation. Now, Ross, you know, Rich Hill does not make it through a full season.
Really.
He's going to spend some time on the disabled list.
Sure.
Yeah, whether it's finger or shoulder or whatever. I mean, he's a major league pitcher, but the guy's 41 years old now. So I think that the Rays getting rid of Snell, I still don't understand that.
Can't figure it out. And let Morton walk too.
Horton's probably going to retire after this
Yeah.
year, but I think that with Snell, here's my personal feeling, that after they took him out of that World Series game last year, they
The look on his face was, who
Oh,
are these jackasses to
Did
take?
you-
Really, really.
yeah, you know what it is? It's analytics.
Oh,
But I think we're going to see a little bit of a turn against analytics here. And I got a hint of that from AJ Hinch, the manager of the Tigers.
yeah.
And, stolen bases, they've been down for years now. But he says, we're going to run. He says, we got some kids with some speed here. We're going to take some chances. And I've seen that. I've seen the Phillies run a little bit more this spring, too. So maybe the managers are starting to gain a little bit more control over their rosters.
Yeah,
And
which is important. Yeah, really.
Put the envelope. When you need a run in the 8th and 9th inning, not everybody's capable of hitting a home run. You got some of the better pitchers in the late innings, and they're not giving them up. So you're going to have to make things happen on the bases. When Theo Epstein left the Cubs, I really enjoyed what he said. He said, "I'm part of the problem,
Right.
because he turned everything over to analytics, and that's the way the game has been run." Now he's working in MLB, and I think that he feels they need more action in the game. I feel that way too.
Sure.
I've seen the Yankees win games, and they've struck out 17 times, and it's because they hit 3 home runs. Well,
Yeah, right.
And
I'm
Ken,
tired
the other,
of guys going up to the plate and walking back. I know there's more hard throwers. I mean, guys like Ross, they might have had a hard time making a stab, other than the fact he knew what he was doing. You understand what I mean? They're always looking for guys throwing 100.
in
Yeah.
that same broadcast the other day, the Tampa Bay Rays broadcast, they were talking about the effect of shifts. And that back in 2005, left-handed batters throughout the game batted 272. And he said 3 years later, it was down to 267. 3 years later, it was down to 257, 258. It's now 236. So in 15 or 16 years, left-handed hitters have gone down from averaging 272 to 236. And you look at what's happened to Bryce Harper as an overall hitter, and you look at our guy, Chris Davis, the pressure on them when that batting average is so low that it's, embarrassingly low for Chris Davis. I think it broke him mentally.
I agree with you, and I think that puts more pressure on them to hit home runs.
Yep.
And go for it. And with Chris Davis in particular, and with Harper to a certain extent, you're going to get strikeouts.
Yep.
So you're going to get nothing altogether.
You're going to get nothing, right?
Then the minor leagues are passing these rules now that you got to stay on the dirt, and you can put 3 guys on the side, but they can't. The second baseman can't be out in short right field. I kind of agree with that. I've mentioned that on the air the last few years. You can put all 9 guys on the right side of the infield, but nobody can be in the outfield. So that's the way I look at it, and that's taken away a lot of hits for left-handed hitters. And I just think that, boy, I'm glad that wasn't around when I was around. I wasn't really. I kind of sprayed the ball around, but the fact is, I just want to see the shifts go away. And now they're even talking about you have to have 2 guys on either side of second base, which would even enhance a left-handed hitter's chances more. I just think that, those analytics people figured out a way how to stop offense. And now everybody's swinging, trying to hit homers, and you're getting a whole lot of nothing.
Before I turn you back over to Ross, let's get back to that Yankee rotation for one split second.
Okay.
We know what Garrett Cole is. I know about Germán, how well he's pitched. Montgomery, Taillon has pitched real well. I saw Kluber one day, and while I don't expect him to go back to being a Cy Young caliber pitcher, he looked pretty darn good. What are you hearing and seeing with Kluber right now?
Well, first of all, he's got one of the better sliders in baseball. So right away, that's his out pitch, and he's thrown it pretty well. I know his first 2 outings, he faced the 6 batters that he faced and got them all out, struck out 4. primarily with the slider. I think he gave up a home run in another start,
Yes,
but
he did.
did really, really well. I think the Yankees are just hoping that, he stays healthy
He
and
makes
he can,
20, 25
can-
starts.
and he can win 15 games.
Yeah.
Maybe 15-10, 15-11, something like that. And with a decent ERA and, give the bullpen a rest every once in a while. I think that's what they would want. Tyon, you mentioned, he's looked really good too. In fact, I think I was watching a little bit earlier tonight, and he gave up the first run he's given up this spring. So he's been pretty strong. And like Garrett Cole's given up a few home runs this spring. They're not worried about him. I mean, he struck out a bunch of guys this spring.
Go ahead, Ross.
How's Sanchez doing? I know every spring he comes in, he looks good. I guess he's throwing guys out now. He's hitting the home runs. And when the season gets to rolling along, it seems that he gets a little more lazy, a little more tired. And but how's he doing now? Because he's up. I mean, they need somebody to catch.
Yeah, you need somebody to catch the ball. He's been batting 8th this spring. Last year he didn't hit well at all. I mean, he was off. And by the playoffs, he lost his job to Gashioka, who was catching Cole. And then soon enough, he was catching everybody. So I think that he got off to a good start. He's hit 3 home runs, but he hit them all early. Now he's kind of struggling as we get towards the end of spring training. And he had some problems tonight. I was watching the game a little bit before I came on with you guys. And he was having trouble catching Chapman. Well, Chapman could be tough on anybody.
Yeah, really?
So,
you need 2 catchers back here for him.
Oh, goodness, yeah. He was throwing these rockets in the dirt, and he was having trouble handling them.
Yeah.
But the Yankees have already said he's going to be the opening day starter behind the plate. He's going to catch Garrett Cole opening day. So the Yankees are not going to give up on him. Remember,
Right.
This guy reached 100 home runs. I think the second fastest in baseball history after Ryan Howard. And Judge was 3rd. So that they know what he's capable of doing. I mean, he hit 34 home runs one year as a catcher. You just don't get that out of many catchers. So they're going to give him every opportunity. The Gashioka is going to make the team because he's an excellent receiver. And if things don't work out with Garrett Cole and Sanchez, there's your man right there. They really clicked last year down the stretch. So
Right.
I just to be honest with you, a lot of people in New York, they want Sanchez gone, but what they wanted the Yankees to do is sign Real Muto and then let him go. But the Phillies came up with your basic 120 million.
Yeah, really. Well, Kenny, who's gonna? The Yankees obviously, like I said, they're a favorite to win the division in the American League. Who's going to give them the biggest run for their money? Toronto looks good as far as scoring runs. Boston and Baltimore are going to battle for the bottom, it looks like. Tampa Bay, hard to say what they're going to do. Hitting-wise, they may have some pitching, but who's going to give the Yankees the toughest time in the division?
I would say, personally, I like Toronto.
Yeah.
They're a young team. If their pitching comes through, I heard the kid Pearson is hurt. The kid that throws 100 miles an hour. I mean, he's injured now and looks like he's not going to be ready to start this season. But Ryu's a good pitcher. I mean, he's the #1 starter. He did well for them last year. People forget the Blue Jays made the playoffs last year.
Right.
I think a couple of issues with their team, though. They're not going to be able to play in Toronto, at least at the beginning of the year.
That was another question I wanted to ask, how that's going to affect
Dunedin. They're going to start right up the road here in Dunedin at their minor league, at their training facility. And then maybe eventually get to Buffalo after it warms up a little bit. But I don't know if they're going to get back to Toronto. Everything depends on COVID and what's going on.
Right.
Canada's pretty tough.
They're pretty tight, yeah.
Americans going up there.
Really?
Hey, Kenny, I wanted to ask you about a guy that I really feel sorry for because he didn't know what hit him, and that's Miguel Andujar. He didn't realize that I picked him up on my fantasy team the end of the previous year before his injury. And I'm there watching like the second game of the year in 2019, and he hurts his shoulder, separated his shoulder, and he's not he's not back to being really a solid contributor at all. Is this guy's career now kind of in jeopardy, or you think the best thing might be an extended stay in the minor leagues where he can play every day and just get back into a groove?
Stan, I think that injury came in a game against the Orioles.
It was definitely. I
Yeah.
was sitting there shell shocked. You know.
Yeah, well, of course, he injured his shoulder. He needed surgery, and he didn't come back towards the end of the year, and he wasn't even ready then.
Right.
And by that time, Gio Urshela had his job.
Right.
Urshela was hitting 20 home runs, driving in 80 runs, playing third base, almost, making plays that look like Brooks Robinson. Not all the time, but some of them. So the thing about it is, it's Urshela's job.
Yep.
With Andujar, he came back. The Yankees knew he could hit. I mean, he finished second in Rookie of the Year to Ohtani, and a lot of people thought he should have won it, including me. So the Yankees tried him at first base. He didn't look good there. He looked okay in left field, but they had Gardner at the time.
Yeah.
So he really was a man without a position, and it includes DH because Stanton was DHing. So my personal thought was the best thing could happen to him
to trade
somewhere.
Yeah.
But
his value is down. His value is down so much.
Yeah,
right
because now it's been like 2-3 years since he's done anything, and he might start at the alternate site this year.
Yeah.
Which you get some work in, but it's not the same as playing. I like the kid. He's a great kid. Always smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, he his English was limited, but he tried and he got better and better at it. And I just think that for him, eventually, I can see him being traded somewhere.
Yeah. The other question I had is you've been broadcasting Yankee baseball for how many years now? Going plus 20 years?
25 years with the Yankees.
All right. So you know the dynamic of where the Yankees are in terms of New York media. They are the darlings. They kind of own the whole market.
Yeah.
The new owner of the New York Mets, who I don't know if you know Steve Cohn or not, but
no, I don't, but I know of him.
He's a lot different than the Wilpons.
Yeah.
And he's gonna write some big checks.
Yeah.
Are the Yankees bracing for? Do you sense that they know that they're up against some real competition now in the marketplace?
Yeah, but you won't hear them voice that.
Yeah.
They won't say that. Oh, we're worried about the Mets.
Right.
All the years I've been with the Yankees, Stan, they do not talk about other teams until they play them.
Mhm.
The Orioles, the Red Sox, they say they're off doing what they do. We'll see them when we see them. That sort of thing. And
Right.
I think that includes the Mets now that you have interleague.
Yep.
So, and the Mets are a good team.
Yeah, they're
I mean,
damn
Jacob
good team.
DeGrom might be the best pitcher in baseball, and I'm looking forward to when DeGrom and Garrett Cole hook up in interleague play this year. I hope they do. I hope they match up. It might not happen, but I hope they do.
You don't see that often anymore.
No, you don't.
Top pitchers that people will go out and want to see 6, 7, 8 innings of pitching.
Yeah, well, yeah, those guys are capable of doing it.
Yep.
When they pitch, usually the bullpen gets more or less a day off.
Right.
So I think that the rest of the guys on the staff, they're looking for 5, maybe 6 innings, and then they'll go to their strong bullpen. And that's the way baseball is now. So that's why when you have a roster of 26 players, 13 or 14 of them are pitchers.
Right.
So that's the way it is.
Hey, we all probably want to get off tonight to watch the Maryland-Alabama game, which is going to start in about 8 or 9 minutes.
Okay.
But I had one more for you, and then I'll let Ross ask you a couple, and we'll let you get out of here. And we really appreciate you joining us, Kenny.
Anytime.
All right. Our old friend Darren O'Day finally got healthy the end of 2019, and then all last season, the 60-game season, had a fabulous year in Atlanta. I think Brian Cashman made a great signing here. And I'm looking for him to be a lockdown bridge to the late innings. Your thoughts?
He was more or less used by the Orioles. He closed sometimes, but he was more or less
Not a
like
lot, not a lot. He didn't-
seventh and eighth inning.
Yeah, he's a
Might
seventh.
see, with the Yankees bullpen the way it's built, he might be a sixth inning guy,
Yes.
you know, or come in to face a tough right-handed hitter with the way he throws the ball. I just he's had a good spring. I think he's given up one home run. He just laid something out over the middle of the plate, and somebody jumped on it, a left-handed hitter. But he has looked really. The whole Yankee pitching staff has looked really good this spring, and they've been scoring. So to me, that if they started the season tomorrow, they would be ready to go.
All right. Ross, you got two more for
Yeah, I do.
Mr. Singleton?
Want to ask a little bit, the minor league, they moved that back. And they're going to bring in, the double A and A ball guys at the end of this, when the season starts in the big leagues.
Mm-hmm.
How's that going to affect these guys? They're not going to play for a month. Until May. Obviously, they missed last year, some guys not playing. They're going to miss a little time. And God forbid, there's a strike next year. Well, how is that going to affect these guys not getting to play, being game ready and getting experience playing games?
Yeah, that's a good question, Ross, and primarily because there were no minor leagues last year.
Right.
No play. And you're right. Some of these guys that get sent out at the end of big league camp, they're not going to start the AAA until May 1st?
May the 1st,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. So I would think, I don't know what the plans are, but maybe some of them will stay down in Tampa where the Yankees are at the minor league camp and work out on more or less a daily basis, just to try and keep sharp before they get going. Some of these guys will go to the alternate site where they'll be on call in case, somebody gets injured in the major leagues. But you're right. I think last year, and this is through no fault of anybody's, because it was just
Right.
COVID that nobody's minor leagues developed, really.
Yeah.
I know that the Orioles had Rushman at their alternate site.
Yep.
And he's looked pretty good this spring. I would think he's going to be in the big league sometime this year, maybe not at the beginning. But I mean, he's up there. I think he's like the number 2 prospect in all of baseball.
Something like it. Yeah.
The kid
I'm not so sure that's going to play out that way. I think
No?
Rushman really got hurt by that last year.
Yeah, so did everybody.
Yeah. Well, according to what some people said about Rushman, he's having trouble catching up to the fastball.
Yeah, but Bobby Witt he's playing every day in camp. He just got sent out 2 days ago. He was making a real run to make the Royals this year. I don't hear Rutschman is catching up to much right now.
Right. Well, the kid from the White Sox as well. The young kid from the White Sox that was high drafted the same
And
year.
Vaughn.
That Bobby Witt Jr. hit the other day,
Yeah.
484 feet.
I know. He blasted one.
It was picked up on radar somewhere.
Yeah.
You know
That's
what?
about as far as the one you hit off of me, right?
Maybe not quite that far.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. Thanks. Well, the other question, Kenny, I got, and I mentioned it, the possibility of a strike. God knows that happens, and it seems like just by what you read and some of the things you hear, Major League Baseball, Players Association, they're a little bit apart on different things.
Yeah.
If this happens, I see it really being a big problem. I mean, they're trying to finally getting fans back in the stadium this year.
Yep.
Attendances went down every year for the last 12 years.
Yeah.
Viewers on TV hadn't been real good. What in the world will happen if that goes down, if there's a strike? What do you
You know
look
what?
for?
I hope there's cooler heads on both sides, because to me, both sides are raking in money. I mean, Trevor Bauer just signed $40 million for 1 year. I mean, come on. And the owners wouldn't give that money unless they had it. You
Right.
understand? I think now, I've heard that players now make less of the gross than when we were playing, Ross. We
Right.
made
No. Really?
Yeah, the gross is so high. Yeah.
how much money is in the game. I mean, just come on. You can't do this to the fans, because you're going to turn everybody off. First of all, the players always get bad press when there's a strike.
Sure,
And
sure.
there hasn't been a strike since '94. So come on, it's when we were playing, there's one every other year. But now too much money on the line.
Kenny,
Right.
I think if you took Rob Manfred and put him in one room, and you took Tony Clark and put him in, and substituted Ken Singleton and somebody from the business side, they'd come in a half hour. You'd hit the nail on the head. What needs to be done to get the game straightened out a little bit?
Yeah, I just think that there's so much money in the game that I wouldn't say that both sides are greedy, but they just don't know how to split it up.
Yeah.
That
Sounds like it.
I know the owners lost money last year because there were no fans in the stands.
Yeah.
There were only 60 games. The players lost money too. They all did. So now the best thing the way to rectify that is get everything going in the right direction.
I thought when Alex Rodriguez was trying to buy the Mets, I thought he made the greatest point. He said he was in favor of a salary cap, but with an agreement between management and players that they would work on new revenue that they could split 50-50, and I thought that was ingenious, to be honest with you.
Okay, well, Alex is one of the things his reputation says he's a good businessman.
Right.
But my feeling is that if you call it a salary cap, the players will never play. They tried that with us.
No, they didn't. Yeah.
And it wasn't going to happen.
Right.
So they have sort of a soft cap now with the luxury tax. But what happens, Stan, is you will penalize the teams that are way up here, but you won't penalize the teams like the Pirates who aren't going to pay anybody anything.
Right.
Or the
right.
Rays. I think you have to have a salary floor as well.
You got to have
Sure.
I agree.
You got to be able to compete. You just can't go out there like the Pittsburgh Pirates and get raked over every year by the rest of your division and the rest of the league. The fans come into the season that their only hope is that the Pirates show up. That's it.
Hey, the Maryland game is getting ready to tip off, but I lied. I got one more question for you.
Okay.
Kenny. How did Brian Cashman end up stealing DJ LeMahieu a couple of years ago and getting him to play in New York? I mean, he made good money. He's one of the best baseball players out there.
Yeah, that was a great pickup. And the Yankees also waited a while until they re-signed him this year.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, fans were getting upset. You can't let this guy get out of here. And but I think all along that he was their number one priority.
Number one priority.
I read today that when Colorado let him go,
yep,
before they actually didn't whatever offer they lowballed him with an offer, that the players on the team went into management and said, "We got to keep this guy," and they didn't do it, and that upset a lot of the players on the Colorado Rockies.
I'll bet it upset Mr. Arenado. I'll bet it upset Mr. Arenado.
Too. Yeah, but the Rockies are their own story. We don't get to see them very often.
All right, they've tipped off in the basketball game between Maryland and Alabama. Ken Singleton, we thank you very much, and we'll take you up on that offer when you said anytime. We'll
all right, Stan.
Really.
See you in a few weeks.
Ross, I'll talk to you next week.
Gotcha.
Thank you as always, for Ken Singleton, Ross Grimsley. I'm Stan the Fan, and I again want to thank the folks at C3 American Exteriors. Go to their website at c3america.com to get a brand new roof for just the cost of your insurance deductible. Enjoy the Maryland game. Good night, everybody. We'll see you Wednesday night. Thanks.
Tell everybody at Seminole, hey.
Okay, I will.
All right, buddy.